It's Groundhog Day! Hello and welcome to the last word on Spurs. We are your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and here we are, fresh-faced, back, ready for a bit more of Tottenham as we report on, dissect, break down our 18th Premier League defeat of the season for Tottenham. 18 losses after 33 matches, after Tottenham won Nottingham Forest 2 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Helping me try and break it all down, not literally break down, although it's been tempting this season. I'm joined by two of the finest actors in the land, the wonderful Darren Hart, the brilliant TJ Ramini, and you've got me and Miles. Listen, just two ordinary fellas on the screen. Thank you so much for joining us. Difficult time, isn't it, as a Spurs fan right now? You know, from the highs of only, 3-4 days ago where Spurs booked their semi-final place, of course, in the Europa League, a two-legged tie against Bodo Glimt to look forward to. I just keep hearing more and more Spurs fans telling me they've booked their tickets for Bilbao. And you know what? It's an interesting time in regards to these Premier League games because there'll be some Spurs fans out there that maybe aren't that too fussed in terms of the results. There'll be some that, maybe like me, and I'm not putting anyone into categories, that have got a certain standard for this football club, a certain standard for the way in which they've supported this football club over many, many years, and they've become really disillusioned from what they're seeing. If you're listening for the first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we're on Blue Sky too. Please keep liking, keep subscribing to the show as we try and fill this out to a worldwide Spurs audience. And look, before I bring in those match facts and the stats, as I mentioned, as we stand on yet another new club home record on the back of those 18 losses after 33 matches. For Tottenham in general, they now have lost for the first time in the history of a 38 Premier League season, 8 home games. Tottenham once again breaking all the wrong records under Postecoglou. In terms of the game, yes, it's another domestic loss. Yes, Spurs should have scored more than just the once. They had obviously Tel, Richarlison twice, and Kulusevski all going close. But what it does mean for the Premier League table is that Tottenham stay in 16th, only a point above West Ham in 17th. And just a reminder that Spurs' final home games to come this season are Crystal Palace and Brighton. Yeah, Crystal Palace and Brighton to come for Tottenham. In terms of those match facts and the stats, as we mentioned, finished Tottenham 1, Forest 2. Spurs dominating shots 22-4. Shots on target wise, 6 for Tottenham, 3 for Forest. Quite tellingly, touches in the box. Tottenham had 45 to Forest 4. But Forest, which will come to Marlon to start the show, are quite happy for Tottenham to have the ball. Tackles wise, Tottenham 17 to Forest 31. Clearance wise, 14 to 55 in Forest's favour. Tottenham forcing more. The keeper saves from Matt Selz for the 1. Tottenham dominating the corners 7-1. Tottenham, as they've done under Postecoglou consistently during his 17-18 month period, dominating possession 70% to 30%. And Tottenham, by the XG stats, are winning something in terms of this game, 2.54 to 0.82. And look, we are, as I mentioned, in the semi-final of a Europa League. Some would maybe suggest you're not allowed to say anything bad about the league form because of that. But for Tottenham Hotspur, me speaking as a lifelong fan, to have 18 Premier League losses at any season as a Tottenham fan is hard to bear. And I have said this throughout the season, this word, unacceptable, because that is what it is. But Miles, I'm going to steer the show over to you to kick us off here. Look, the damage was done really in the opening 20 of the game as Spurs failed to build any kind of momentum going into, of course, this, you'd say crucial period of the season. Bodo Glimt on the horizon, Liverpool next, but also on the back of that brilliant win we saw against Frankfurt. It does mean Spurs have lost 5 of their last 7 Premier League games. Thoughts on that overall finish to the game, Miles, in which, again, it's another home defeat this season?
Look, I know a lot of people will probably look at the stats and probably go that Spurs played well. I think Andrew's even kind of said it in his presser. Spurs didn't play well at all. I think a lot of people, if you're sitting there saying Spurs played well, have not watched Nottingham Forest at all this season, because this is exactly how Forest play. They let you have the ball. They literally don't like playing with it. They counter-attack teams. The fact we gave them 2 goals, they were probably rubbing their lips with that. And typical Spurs, we played straight into their hands. Nuno outclassed Ange as well. The starting lineup, he sprung a surprise, which again we didn't respond to. That look, I look at it and I go, the game as a whole, I'm not going to sit there and say I was happy. I was half asleep half the time with some of our patterns of play. The only time we looked like we were going to score is from a Porro cross, which we ended up doing. But as soon as we've done that, what did Nottingham Forest do? They shut up shop. Again, didn't let us have anything. So you have to look at the game as a whole. And sometimes stats can be very deceiving. But 22 shots on goal and 6 on target. That just sums up Forest as a team. And I think for us right now, as Spurs fans, we've got to look at this and go, how do we want to finish this season? Because if we keep playing this way, look, our defense was, let's go in the first half. Our defense was exactly how probably most of us would have wanted it, apart from, even Spence was there. And it was them that actually let us down. It wasn't the front three or anything going forward, because Tel and Odobert seemed to play okay-ish. More Odobert than Tel. I think Tel kind of just faded in and out. But the season is just becoming one of those where I think we've all said we kind of want it to be over, but we don't, because we've got this Europa League campaign that we're looking forward to, because of, on Thursday, such a great way we defended so resiliently and everything was just perfect on Thursday. And then we've come back to this. It's like, that reality hits in and you go, oh crap, Spurs are back. But look, I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to sit there and be completely mad at today's performance, because I kind of expected it. And this is the thing, I'm going through these Spurs games at the moment. I'm just kind of expecting the worst every time. And the fact we've come out with a 2-1 loss, I'm kind of going, well, it could have been worse. The Wolves game was a lot worse last week. I think you've kind of said the players are kind of still trying to play, but they're just getting on with it. I think you can see they're all going through the motions at the moment. But let's see what happens. I genuinely believe, I'm going to say this, Romero was trying to get sent off today because he doesn't want to play over the next few weeks in the league. I think he's done. He literally was just trying to get every bit of moment that he could to get that referee to give him a second yellow card, and it failed. So I think he's probably, everyone in the team, he's probably the most pissed off tonight, because he hasn't got that red card, so he doesn't have to play the next 3 games or something.
Miles, thanks so much for that dissection. Look, Dal, coming over to you. I mean, we have spoken over the phone over the weekend. We actually spoke on the last show about it, and you said it's going to be an interesting period as to how the fan base are going to adjust and feel when we are going to have to obviously play these Premier League games in between what we know is really what the season is resting on is, of course, this double-legged tie against Bodo Glimt in the Europa League. And, I think the game itself, we lost the game because, again, there was some awful goalkeeping in there from Vicario, who, again, there'll be a concern that out of the last 2 to 3 games, from a commanding of a box perspective, it's a really worrying time for him, because he looks really, really short on confidence, can't get away from that. Defensively, my worry would be in the first half that you've got arguably your first choice centre-backs in there in Romero and Van der Ven. And I think Romero, you could argue, was at least at fault for one of the goals. And I think the worrying thing would be is those are probably your 2 starting centre-backs for the Bodo Glimt tie in a couple of weeks' time, certainly over across the 2 legs. And I have to agree with Marlon. I think Nuno Espirito Santo, whatever you make of his time at Tottenham, which again, it's funny now, isn't it, 3-4 years on, maybe some suggest that he should have been given more time in charge, but there's no doubt about it. Nuno is a very, very astute coach, and he would have studied Tottenham for quite a long time before the game. And I think, like Marlon said, he was quite happy for Spurs to have the ball, because he was vehemently in the belief that his players would do their job defensively and get the job done. I mean, do you go on the similar kind of appraisal or kind of dissection of what Miles does in terms of that game itself?
In terms of what Nuno did, yeah, Nuno does exactly that with Forest. Half-time, complete change of system, back 5, they do that. They go, it's 45 minutes of you trying to break us down. And a lot of sides, as we said, lick their lips at the prospect of playing Tottenham right now, because we give you goals and we don't look like scoring ourselves. And it was interesting, like looking at how many balls were put into the box and the movement up front and Richarlison trying to find form. We just look like a side that looked lost. And part of that is down to Ange. Another part of that is also down to the players that we have. And you look at Vicario, for example, coming back in and he played today. He looks completely out of sorts. He doesn't look confident. He doesn't look like he's giving confidence to his back four. And that's concerning because that's your number one. As you quite rightly said, we played our number one pairing of centre halves today. They didn't look like they were commanding. And it's worrying when you do that. And as I said on our feedback after the game in Europe, I said this was going to be a problem because damned if you do, damned if you don't. And set himself up for a challenge today. I went with my own radical theory where I would have gone, I'm not playing the team that I want to play in Europe. I don't want them on this pitch because I don't know if trying to build form is what Tottenham have been doing because they've showed no consistency this whole season. So if you're trying to build that, if that's the idea you're going with, it's not worth 33 games. When players have been back in, they've fell apart. They're not looking confident. The cohesion and the camaraderie doesn't always seem to be there. But when the pressure's on, it suddenly arrives. So for me today, I'd have played people like Mikey Moore, Archie Gray in his holding midfield position. I'd have been looking at playing players that have not got any minutes and looked at what they are for the future of Tottenham and made it about that today. Let's take all the pressure off the league. We're not getting relegated unless an absolute travesty happens and mathematics.
I can confirm we are mathematically safe now, Dale. You can rest easy.
Happy days.
We are mathematically safe.
There were some people trying to do the math still, but I'm glad we're good. But the thing about it is that shows how sad our season has been. That shows how disappointing it's been. And right now, there is nothing we can get from these league games that's going to be positive for Spurs. I don't see it. My fear was someone got injured tonight. At one point, I looked at Van der Ven. I was like, you're going to do your hamstring tonight. You're absolutely going to pop it. And then people go, why did you play him? That made no sense. And it's just a horrible situation to be in as Spurs fans because you go to the stadium, you pay your hard money, you sing your heart out, you want to see a performance, you get that. After 10 minutes, the game's over. You might as well go home. That's the sad reality of that game today. As much as we had the ball, as much as we put crosses in, 90% of Spurs fans went, we've already lost this game now. It's 2-0 down. I don't see us recovering. There's not enough fight. There's not enough passion. It's a sad, sad state of affairs. I just hope we get 2 more magical evenings because that's what we need now, 2 magical evenings.
We might need 3, but I know what you mean. We could get away with 2 if we.
No, we're not getting 3, Rick. That's what I'm saying. When we go to their ground and we play on that artificial pitch, it's not magic. I'm telling you right now, that game is not going to be magic. It's going to be an ugly mess. It's going to be an absolute ugly mess. We know what we're like on artificial pitch. We've got no idea how to play football suddenly. They put molds on and everyone falls over themselves. They don't have to pass the ball. It's mental. We need to batter them at home and then hope that the final, we don't get Bilbao and we get United. And Onana does, and Onana.
I mean, you know what? It's it's difficult when you've got the most optimistic Spurs fans that are not feeling optimistic about the future. One that has always been optimistic has been CJ Ramini. I know even CJ, you know, even when we're talking on WhatsApp, I hope you won't mind me saying, I think we've had a lot of the beating put through us this season. It's difficult. I mean, it is difficult. I mean, CJ, to bring you in, right at a point now that even if Spurs win the rest of their games this season in the Premier League, they will still end up with more defeats than wins. For a club like Tottenham, it's simply unthinkable, unacceptable. And, you know, I have said this a lot about that performance that, yes, I mean, for me, I look at the game, I wouldn't actually question our effort, commitment, desire. I think that was there. The problem for me is when I look at these games, it's our tactical setup, our structure, what we're trying to do. I can't really see it working. I mean, and, you know, Marlon touched upon there that Forest were quite happy for Spurs to have the ball. And I agree with Darren. The problem is that I know Forest got the goal disallowed at 2-0, but there is that feeling that from a lot of fans, as soon as we go 1-0 down, the game is done. And I know a lot of, I've got to say, fans and, well, a lot of people outside of Tottenham blame the fans for having that mentality. But the problem again is you go back to the point, when you have had 18 losses, 18 losses out of 33 matches, it's really, really hard for fans to see any kind of light at the end of a tunnel, despite 4 or 5 days ago, seeing that kind of performance in Frankfurt and hoping that was the turning point in which we were going to see a similar kind of display to that. But we didn't. And yes, we did make 5 to 6 changes. I mean, Tej, what did you make of that game itself?
Goodness me. Listen, it's lovely to be back on the show. I love you, mate. You know that.
I
These
love you
two
too.
boys.
Yeah.
Love these boys. Love being on the show with you guys. It's a great panel. Big up the viewers and the listeners, man. It's a tough place to be right now. Just to Brother Darren's point, man, it's a tough place to be for us right now. And Rick, you've talked about, off the back of all of these losses, if it had only been that, yes, it's unrecognizable and we're so disconnected. And for a club like Tottenham Hotspur to think, sorry, what? And then to see where we are on the table, it's almost kind of mystifying, like we're in some sort of practical joke. And then somebody's going to jump out and go, oh, it's, we're only joking. So it's almost at a point where it's incomprehensible for us to really accept what it is that we're witnessing. Unfortunately, to make it worse, I do have some positives. I promise you. People are saying, do what you can for us. And we're going to try, guys. We are always going to try our best, but also we're Tottenham fans and we want to be honest and not be disrespectful or discourteous to people who spend the time, to come onto the show and watch and listen. So 18 losses this season, but also off the back of, I know we kind of, managed to kind of finish fifth last season, but just so much concentrated misery has been served up to Tottenham fans, over decades. And so it's a very, very difficult place to be. And we enter these games hoping beyond hope to have some sort of sense of having our spirits lifted or a semblance of being repaid for the loyalty and the time and the energy and the money that's spent in supporting this club. But to Marlon's point, man, like, are any of us going in expecting to win? I mean, I've said on this show multiple times, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has never, to even use the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and the word fortress in the same sentence, ludicrous, absolutely irrelevant. It makes no sense at all. It's never been that. And so there's so much for this club to do, so much. I loved watching you guys after the Frankfurt game, man. I loved watching that. And I loved reading the comments and seeing people having unbridled jubilation after watching a Tottenham game. Believe me, man, I really feel it. I've been following this club since I was a child, and that was a long time ago, believe me. And so just to see people having an opportunity to celebrate, Darren said, to wear your colors. And when I saw you grab your shirt, bro, that's not for the camera or whatever. Obviously, you're an actor, but it's a real thing, man. And I felt that, brother, and I appreciated it. And what I was thinking through all of the succinct comments and everything made while you were on that show and we were talking about the way we played, I promise you guys, I was thinking that is what it takes to win football games at this level. That is what it takes. Nothing less than that. And so I hear what you're saying, bro. Like, we weren't too bad tonight, Rick. But brother, that's not enough to win Premier League games.
I know.
It just isn't, bro. How we played on Thursday, it's that every time or more.
I agree.
If you want to win professional football matches.
Yep.
And so tactically, yes, we didn't seem to know what we were doing tonight. But as well, to a man, it's got to be better than that, boys. It's got to be better as human beings, as professional footballers. Who really wants to be there and make a difference and fight your way out of a corner because we're in a corner? Lots more to say later, some positives, I promise. Great to be back on the show. Thanks, Rick.
T, thanks. I mean, look, for you and yourself to say, the problem is, I think because of what this season has done to me, I've even myself kind of forgot what the standards are anymore. I'm looking at that in that game and I'm trying to pick the positives, thinking the players are still giving it a go. But I mean, the reality is, as Marlon, you said so succinctly in your opening, the problem is now that everyone does, to some degree, for a long time now the way Spurs are going to play. I think the problem is, as we said after Frankfurt, Woody and kind of give us a similar kind of display in this game. The problem is, we go 1-0 down so early like we do, nearly 2-0 down, but it gets disallowed. Then we do get a second goal. You're at a point now, really, you're kind of forgetting even what our standards should be. But I know they shouldn't be this. But, it's very hard to find any positives. And you look at, again, the fact that at the moment there's some really more unwanted records that could be coming Tottenham's way. Spurs, they need to avoid losing 2 more games to not have their most defeats in a single season. They need 8 more points if they are to surpass their worst points total in the Premier League era. Let me just read that again, right? So Spurs need 8 more points if they are to surpass their worst points total in the Premier League era. As I've touched upon, we've already suffered our most home defeats in a 38-game season, but another 2 would surpass their worst total in a 44-game season. I mean, I know people, I keep seeing on the back of every show that we do, on like an audio or a YouTube comment, there's that meme now that is saying Ricky Sachs can't quite believe what he's saying. And honestly, I tell you, generally, but my heart, I actually can't quite believe the words that are leaving my mouth regarding this football club this season. I promise you I can't. I mean, look, I think there's very little point in going into any kind of debate as to whether Ange Postecoglou is going to be sacked before the semi-final games against Bodo Glimt. He's not going to be sacked, right? I mean, they could have sacked him so many times this season, right? Again, when you look at Spurs over the course of the season, many would have had him gone after the Coventry game, if we remember back in the Carabao Cup at a very early point of the season. You then obviously had the Carabao Cup play against Liverpool, the Aston Villa defeats. They decided to stick with him. You had the Everton defeat. You know, the reality is that Tottenham, whatever you think about them, and there's a lot of words we can describe to talk about the hierarchy right now, they are putting their trust in Ange Postecoglou to lead Tottenham to European glory and be the first manager since 1984 to win a European trophy. Now, is that right? Me personally, I don't think so. I've made my points very, very clear on Ange Postecoglou. But, you know, it is scary when you think, and I'm sorry to bring these Ange stats out there because it's bewildering where we are. The fact that we've recorded the same amount of defeats as we did in the 96-97 season under Jerry France, and we finished 10th in that Premier League. And you know what? I know many can't quite believe what they're seeing right now in general. The fact that, you know, we had the most home goals conceded first in the calendar year of 2024. We had the worst homeless win run since 2008. We went 5 straight home matches without a win in the Premier League, our longest winless run at home since 2008. We've had the most shots faced in a calendar year. We are on course for our highest number of losses in a single Premier League season, with 18 currently and 19 being our worst under Ozzy Ardiles. We've had the most goals conceded in the calendar year since 2008. We've had the longest run of conceding consecutive Premier League defeats in 16 years. We've had 4 consecutive Premier League losses between late Jan and early Feb, a streak that has not been seen since 2008. Most goals conceded in all competitions in a season for the 24-25 season. By February, we had 57 goals conceded across 39 games, averaging 1.5 goals per game, a figure worse than all, but Leicester with 62, Southampton with 63. We know, look, again, as I touched upon, it's our worst points tally at this stage of a season since 2009. That's 16 years ago. Also, obviously, of course, Ange is, at this point, you know, as the manager, averaging the points per game, the very, very lowest at 1.11 when you put him up against the last however many managers in charge of Tottenham in the Premier League era. It's a despondent debate, Mars. He's not going anywhere. But can the fans galvanise themselves to get behind this for the 2 crucial games in the Europa League? And I suppose, can we allow these Premier League games to go the way they're going, really, despite this European dream that some of us have got?
Ricky, for one, you forgot the worst stat of them all. The worst stat. That them lot down the road confirmed our Premier League status. That has got to be the most embarrassing thing to come out of this season. That they got to confirm our status yesterday. It was them because they beat Ipswich. Now, the one thing I'll say is, I think for a lot of people at the moment, because they wrote off the league a couple of weeks ago, and you saw how we got behind the team on Thursday, we all did. Even the people who didn't want Ange, we will get behind this team. I think the players can sense that actually we're all, even we put all our eggs in one basket. The problem is at the moment is that the thing that we've got is that fans and Ange right now, we're broken. We've been broken for weeks, broken for months, and it's not going to get fixed. It's not going to get fixed at all. We know this. Even if he goes to the final, he's still not going to be able to fix it, because for him to come out in that interview and say, you're going to have to put up with me for a couple more weeks now because he didn't lose on Thursday, just says where we all are with him. So for me right now, us fans are not going to be the issue getting ourselves up for those semi-finals. So we will. We're going to get ourselves up for it, and so will the players. The players have shown to us, especially after Thursday, that they can get up for it. The problem we've got now is that these league games are just an inconvenience for everybody. And I think if he goes, the only other game that I think is going to get a terrible reaction from us fans will be West Ham. West Ham away, if he goes there and they completely mess it up and get absolutely smashed by Graham Potter, who are looking a lot worse than us at the moment, then I think there's going to be more backlash. But after that, the rest of the games will just be like going with the motions. And I think that's what tonight was. That's why you can see that everyone's not completely as mad as they were against Wolves, because Wolves was just a complete mess. But today was more of a case of, we knew what was going to happen. It happened, and we've kind of gone, oh, we'll accept it. Let's move on to Liverpool next week, which is a case of, and we're going to be there, letting them parade their title win and everything like that against us, because we know us and Anfield don't mix. So apologies to the other lot. Just, we're not doing it on purpose. We're actually just that bad. So for me right now, it's a case of, I'm not worried about anything in the next few weeks. I know that the Bodo glimpse, at the end of the day, we're all going to be there. We're all going to be supporting, and there's going to be an expectation. And that's the bit that I think the players need to understand. There's going to be an expectation in that home leg, and the fans will be 100. That atmosphere will be electric, but just don't concede in the first 10 minutes like you have been doing. Come on, fight. Don't just do it to us, because once you concede in that first 10 minutes, I think then we're all going to be like, oh, are we going to be back here again? But look, we'll be up for it. I just think for us right now, it's not about whether we're with Ange or not. It's just a case of, he's here, we're here. We're just going to have to get through to the end of the season.
Yeah. The reason why I made that point is that it's a redundant debate, because we've seen it clearly throughout the season that if they've given him until now, he's not going to go anywhere. And I think the thing is, Dal, I mean, look, you even suggested yourself that you were in favour of changes being made for this game because of the fact you've mentioned that even during this Premier League season, there's been no real consistency to our form. So have you of the firm belief then that it doesn't really matter what the remaining Premier League games do, because it ultimately comes down to these games in Europe and the fact that these will be one-off games, where the point I'm trying to get to here is that you don't need momentum for these games. Do you believe that you don't need momentum going into these games?
From a football perspective, I believe in momentum. I believe building confidence as a performer is you get your confidence by doing it and repeating the action and building yourself up to the big day, the big press night, the big show. What I've realized with Tottenham this season is we've been consistently inconsistent. And that's worrying, because trying to build that hasn't happened. Yes, we've had the injuries and the setbacks. But right now, my theory is partly it was to try and help Ange out, safeguarding him as well. At halftime, they were boos. There were lots of boos at halftime. You could hear them. They were audible. We could feel that. That's not good for anybody, be it a player, manager, or fan. You don't want that environment building, because that builds an energy. And right now, that energy is not what we need going into a semi-final. We need to find somewhere where, as Marlon quite rightly said, because the relationship is broken, trying to find a way to bring us closer together. So that's why today I was like, maybe take a different perspective on it and attack the game or approach the game from a different way. But what Ange did and what the boys are doing is they went with the same thing that we're doing all season in the league. We saw their heads down. We saw that they don't have many ideas. I know people speak about Odobert had a good few moments in the game. Tel at times had moments. I don't know if that's enough, because it didn't feel like it was enough for the fans to be elevated or to be energized. And clearly, Ange is not in a good place himself. I'm just worried that we create a bigger mess for ourselves. That first round, that first leg of the semi-final, it becomes a real pressure cooker, and that we make it so hot for ourselves that any mistake anyone made, the fans are going to be on their case, because the fans are worried. We're all on edge. And I think we can take some of that out by just safeguarding ourselves through these league games. We know Liverpool's coming, and we can go, here you go, Liverpool, here's the title. That's one thing we can do. As fans, we can have a little bit of a laugh and a joke with that if you want to. But I think go in there and play in Romero, Van der Ven in a game where we're not, as fans, going, I see us winning this, I see us getting something out of this. It's just dangerous. And I feel that the relationship right now between Spurs on the pitch, Spurs fans in the stadium, and what's happening in the dugout, I feel that it's really volatile. And I think unless there's a real grip on it, we could find ourselves in a real toxic place for our semi-final. And I'm scared about that because there are league games in between, and they are potentially league games that we don't win any of them. And we go into that semi-final losing, but with the first team playing. Vicario, for me, seems like he's only getting worse in his confidence. Do you pull him out of the fire and go, okay, Vicario, what we're going to do is we're just going to go into training mode with you, get you in the back for this training, build your confidence off the pitch? Because it's not working right now. There's worries, there's fears. Like, he did an absolute nightmare for Danzo at one point where they did a little pass back and forth. Nottingham Forest closed in and he gave it back to Danzo. I was like, you're playing him into problems. And it's that kind of choices that you're not making good choices. And I feel that I don't know if we have the clientele at Spurs that change that in games. I've not seen in-game management that has impressed me this season where the players take it upon themselves. And me and Jason brought this up after the semi-final, after the quarterfinal. There's a lot of responsibility that has to be put on the players. We can't always look at Ange. Today was another example of that. They had the opportunity. Romero, Van der Ven knew they had 45 minutes. Give it your all for 45 then. Go and press hard. Win those headers. Take on Woods. You know what's coming. But they didn't. Marlon made a statement that I never really thought about. Like, Romero was a bit reckless at times, going, do you want a red card? Do you want the time off? Is that what you're playing for?
Can I say one thing? Because we've just had some breaking news come through on Christian Romero. We've had some breaking news come from Christian Romero. I'm going to read these quotes that have come via Argentinian press as we are doing this show live right now.
Argentina, there's a problem.
Well, it's come directly from Romero's mouth, apparently. Romero was asked by a reporter his feelings around Tottenham. He said, look, we're in the Europa League semi-finals and I want to finish the season on a high note. After that, we'll see. My focus is always on growing and looking for new places to continue developing. The reporter pressed him and said, what league would you like to play in that you've never played in before? Romero replied, I need to play in Spain to compete in all the major leagues. Would you... Let's. I mean, Tej, do you want to come in on that? Would you make of the timing? Would you make of the timing of those quotes?
Perfectly timed. Olivier couldn't have timed it better. I mean, I don't think this is going to come as any kind of surprise to any Tottenham fans. I mean,
we've just lost at home to Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. We've had 18 defeats out of 33.
Yeah.
I made that point that we're on running course for our worst ever season in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. And you've got a vice captain of the football club that is coming out publicly now and twerking for a move to Spain.
Yes.
How in any world is this? How in any world is this right?
I've spoken about Romero many times. A couple of weeks ago, right? And then on Thursday, people going, "Oh, he's world class. He's this, that, and the other." Look, I understand. I never take exception to football fans, especially Tottenham fans, obviously, having a differing opinion to mine. I don't mind. This is variety is the spice of life, right? Makes things interesting. If we all agreed all the time, what a desperately boring place that would be to exist in. So, but to me, just because you stepped up like every other player did on Thursday, that's nowhere near enough, man. Especially if we're going to say, oh, he's elite, he's world class, he's a World Cup winner, and all this kind of thing. Well, not in a Tottenham shirt, he isn't. And for my money, he never has been. He's so inconsistent, got so many mistakes in him. I posted something on X a few weeks ago about him. It got a fair amount of traction. I don't know many, but, I can't remember. But a fair amount of traction, right? And what I said is that I don't know a single Tottenham fan that will be sad to see the back of Christian Romero as long as we get a decent amount for him. And I would say probably 90% or 95% but we're agreeing with me, and then some people not agreeing with me. Now, listen, the point still stands is that I don't know any of those people who disagree with me. And also people going, oh, as long as we can get 70, 75, it's like, brother, you're never going to get 75 for him. Never. If we got 55, I'd be happy with that, because let's move on to some positives. Who doesn't love Kevin Danzo? Wow, I love Big Kevin. Amazing, right? It's coming with a point to prove, and also with so much pressure on it. He's a big boy, sure, but still he's a young man, and coming to a huge club under intense pressure, and he has stepped up. So much love for him, and so that's who we want. Is he as good as Romero? He's probably not, but
Yeah.
He's going to improve because, my God, he's pushing himself. Romero doesn't want to be at Tottenham, man. He doesn't want to be there. And so that's case closed, man. Finish. If you want to go, mate, you go. But let us get our money so we can buy some. Dude, you think Milenkovic or Murillo cost anywhere near as much as Christian Romero? Yeah. They are absolutely hot mustard at that. And so I'm happy if Romero wants to go. As far as his timing goes, Ricky, it's appalling, man. Massive disrespect. If there are any Tottenham fans out there that think he's coys, have a word.
Well, on this point, I just need to make this actually very clear. I said a second ago that this is obviously broken in terms of breaking news. The reporter Gaston Nadal, who is for TYC Sports out in Argentina, this looks to be a pre-recorded interview with Romero from what I can see. I mean, look, I'll clarify if anything.
He said it before.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like a pre-recorded interview that has been obviously then re-released just on the back of the game against Forest. I mean, Marlon, whether it's a pre-record, whether it's now in real time, this is a vice captain of the football club that's part of a leadership group that, this thing could finish in a trophy. How destabilising is that to the camp when you've got the vice captain coming out saying, I need to play in Spain to compete in all the major leagues? And all we've heard over the course of the season is there's been links to both Real and Atletico. What do you make of it, Miles? It backs up your initial point of the introduction to this show that Romero is checking out.
But I'm not surprised. I'm not going to sit. Look, I think at the end of the day that most of the players already know this, already know he wants to be gone. I think most of the players want to be gone. Most of the ones that have got ambition at the moment will want to go this summer. The week before the game that we had, where it was the most important game, how many of the players were linked away from the club that week? It's just that Romero is being he's being front of house with it, where the rest of them are just going through their agents and stuff. None of the rest want to be here either. So I know a lot of people are going to be sitting there saying, "Oh, Romero this, Romero that," but Kulusevski probably doesn't want to be here next season because he doesn't want to be fighting another relegation battle. Yeah, TJ said that Danso is a decent player to come in, but as you stated at the beginning, Ricky, where are our standards at the moment? Where do we want to be as a football club? Unfortunately, Danzo's not going to take us and elevate us to Champions League football where we want to be. Unfortunately, Romero will with a better coach. And this is the issue that we've got. We've got a coach at the moment that none of us trust, but we're going to sit there and say a player that wants out. Of course he's going to want out because he's looking at the coaches, and it's been since Romero has been here, he's had Nuno, he's then had Conte, and then now he's got Ange. He's had 3 different managers. This is not a stabilizing football club right now, and this is where we have to go and look at to why players don't want to be. This is the reason why Harry Kane left. We have to look at the bigger picture here. And I know a lot of us are looking at going, "Oh, Romero, this, that, and the other." But we kind of knew this weeks ago. It's just, we're ready to know. But on Thursday, when he put in the performance against Frankfurt, he didn't want to be here then, but he still managed to put in a good performance. His best performances are now going to come in that Europa League because he wants to he's a winner. He wants to win now. Yes, I agree. He makes a lot of mistakes. However, I've always blamed the system for his mistakes under Ange, a lot of them, because he makes a few for Argentina, but not as many when he comes and plays for Spurs. And I think that's the biggest issue. And yes, he's a vice captain, but we've had James Maddison be petulant as well. We've had Son be petulant this year as a captain. At this present moment, Romero is just one part of the problem. That's many things that we've all been complaining about. And I'm not going to sit there and go, Romero's wrong and the timing of it's wrong, because he doesn't want to be here. We knew it. We've just got confirmation. We can still get on with the Europa League. There's 3, like Dal said, we've got 2 big games to get out of this Europa League, and it's ours. 2 big ones.
It's more of the fact that it's the timing of it, Dal. Regardless when this has been recorded or whatever, this has been recorded, pre-Spurs in a Europa League semi-final coming up, and you've got the vice captain of the football club publicly stating, "I need to be in Spain." That is where, just to not get that quote wrong, I'm going to read back on that quote again. "I need to be in Spain because I need to compete in all the major leagues." That's what he said. How in any right mind, Al, is this tolerable or acceptable? for him to carry on playing with those words that have come out publicly.
What it is
In the middle of a season. We're in the middle of a season. It's not the
Yeah.
end of the season. We're in the middle of a season. And we've still got a Europa League trophy to count for. And you've got someone in that dressing room that you know publicly now, whatever it was before about reported links or whatever, publicly has now come out and said, you know, for want of a better phrase, he knows that he needs to be elsewhere, not here, not at Tottenham.
He has been like that all season. I think everyone is very much aware of that. Timing is everything. And right now, this is a massive thing that we have to look at in terms of where Tottenham are. What level do Tottenham want to be at, and what level realistically are we at right now? We've got a squad with a lot of individuals that have underachieved this year. You look at a player like Romero, and it's interesting, like Marlon highlighted all the managers he's played under. Some have been master defensive tacticians. Some have played football that will complement him. Some have took him under their wing personally. Some have tried to manage him in different ways. And for whatever reason, Romero has not improved as a player, but has become more vocal that he wants to leave. Now, I'm of the belief that if you want to go, I'll open the door for you and I'll walk you out. Like, here you go. Like, if you want to leave, absolutely leave. I think what we have to look at is what level is Tottenham really at? Because we have a manager right now who we will all go out there on paper and say, we don't believe he's an elite manager. And we have a squad that, let's be real, isn't an elite squad. There's a lot of potential there, but it's not elite. We didn't compete with anybody this year. And if everyone's fit, would we have? I don't really think we would have, because the squad was short when we started the season and the personnel hasn't been addressed. There's still errors in our squad. There's still errors in our individual players, and the level hasn't grown. So I feel there's a real moment here to take stock. If you don't want to be at Spurs, if wearing the badge isn't for you, absolutely get out. But what we also have to look at is another issue within Tottenham, is where is Tottenham wanting to be next year? Where do our chairman, our board want to be? Where do us fans realistically see this team going? Because we have Champions League ambitions. We want to be up there competing with our neighbours. We want to be fighting for everything. Did the chairman want to? Did the manager want to? And do the players want to? Because right now, I feel that is a mismatch. There's so many mislevels and miscommunication. And we look at our squad and we don't have a Champions League squad. We are not ready for that. Not in a country mile. We'll be in the Champions League. We wouldn't get out of the group. We'll be in that bottom section with the new structure of the Champions League. We wouldn't make it because we are not that good. And right now, if we want to be, this summer is massive. Hence why I keep stressing about, let's make the plan now. If the board want Ange out, who are you bringing in? Are you having those conversations now? Are you planning for tomorrow now? If you're looking to keep him, you better have a plan in place. But I feel what we do every season with Spurs is it's the hope that kills us fans. That's the one. It's the hope. Right now, this season was over ages ago. And then what the Tottenham do, give us hope of Europa to bring us all back in, to bring all of our energies back. Hopefully they don't break our hearts again. But then we go into next season with nothing changing, the board not changing, the squad not being improved in the way it should be, and then we go with false hope again. It's tiring. Yeah. It's tiring.
Yeah. Look, before we're gonna hear from Ange in just a second, very quickly, just on his thoughts after the game. Just to close on the Romero debacle, for what is want of a better word. It looks like, again, like I say, it's a pre-recorded video that has been released at this point in time by that journalist that I mentioned in Argentina. I think another staggering thing about it is he's actually recorded inside our bloody training ground. He's saying this. You know, it's not even being recorded off-site. So I find that even more baffling. You know, number one, you know, he's in the training facility at Tottenham. Number two, you've got the comments from the guy saying, I need to play in Spain to compete in all the major leagues. And you'd imagine, because it's been recorded inside the stadium, you know, there must have been some kind of PR that have been around to almost approve that and say, that's all right to go out. Yeah, put that out tomorrow. I mean, I actually am at a point there where I'm actually losing any sense of understanding as to what this football club is anymore. Unless the club have been absolutely blindsided by the fact that it's been recorded inside the stadium, which if that's the case, I mean, whatever way you dress up, it's even worse, isn't it? Whether they know it was going to be released or not be released, either way, it's an absolute shit show. Look, we're going to squeeze in our first and last break of this show on Last Word on Spurs, and we're going to give you the thoughts of Ange Postecoglou on the back of that game against Nottingham Forest. About a 2-3-minute clip. We'll be back after that. We'll be giving our summary of thoughts and looking ahead to hopefully better things to come for Spurs' future. You let me know if you can find them. Here's Ange Postecoglou in action. Let's bring him in. And we'll be back after Ange has taken centre stage. Bear with me 1 second. Let's see if we can bring Ange into focus.
Ali.
I think it's 22 shots, 4 on the day. I mean, put down a scoreline to something like that.
Oh, look. It's another game we've lost where we shouldn't lose. And it's been, a big part of our season in that we just making things really difficult for ourselves in key moments, just a little bit of concentration and giving away poor goals. It's a shame because our football was outstanding. We totally dominated the game, and even for 2 goals we could see, I still felt we deserved to win the game. But at the same time, it's another loss, and it's another unacceptable loss. And for us, it's just been a season where, at times we've been our own, even with the challenges we've had. And look, we had challenges today because obviously I'm having to make changes to the team, but it's just really frustrating because our football was so good that you've lost another game.
18 defeats in the Premier League. I mean, what do you say to the fans of that tally of defeats?
I don't need to say anything to the fans. The fans are disappointed. They're probably angry as we are as well. It's too many losses. I know that. I don't need to tell the fans anything. The fans clearly wouldn't be happy with our results, but neither am I, and neither are the players. And from our perspective, it's something we need to accept responsibility that we've fallen short of the standards we need to have. But the flip side of that is the frustrating bit is it's not because of the way we're playing, because our football today, it was very similar to the Frankfurt game here at home. It's another game we should have won.
Double change at half time, is that pre-planned?
Yeah, that was pre-planned. Yeah.
Yes. I'm just asking about Richarlison scoring this night. What is that just doing personally?
Yeah, look, that was part of the exercise today to get sort of him and Wilson, Kulusevski, Kevin Danzo, get him some game time because obviously they've missed a hell of a lot of football. I mean, Richy's hardly played all year, but Deki's been a couple of months. Same with Wilson and Kevin. So from that perspective, it was good that they all got through it and got some meaningful minutes. We could rest a few others, which was also useful for us. So yeah, from our perspective, it was a positive.
And do you think that trying to avoid maybe a worse points total is any motivation for the players, or is it more about the Europa League, or what's the motivation left in the squad there?
I don't know what that means in terms of. I don't think you didn't see a team that was motivated. I mean, it's not like we lost because the players chucked it in. If that's what people saw, then they're watching something different to me. It wasn't I don't think they lacked motivation today because I thought our football was outstanding. And but again, we've paid the price for lacking focus and concentration in key moments. And it's another game we've let slip. So I don't think motivation is an issue.
Lacking focus and concentration, is that a lack of leadership or experience from some of the players?
No, it shouldn't be because it's happened to us a few times this year, and we should learn from these things. But it's a constant in our sort of makeup at the moment that something we need to eradicate. At different times this year, we've shown real good focus and concentration. Frankfurt being a classic case of that. But tonight, just at the start, we just didn't sense really the only threat that Forest were going to have on the counter attack, which I thought we handled really well in set pieces, and we gave away 2 poor goals.
And I wanted to ask about Vicario as well. Last weekend, an error tonight. Do you have any worries about his confidence at all with something knock up like that?
No, I don't. No, he's fine. Yeah, they're okay. Destiny was fine. We just left him out of the squad tonight. did put in a big physical shift on Thursday, and it was always the idea to rest him, but I wasn't going to put him on, so there's no put him on the subs bench. Mathys was pretty sore yesterday, but the last 24 hours he recovered and he was keen to sort of be on the bench. But they're both fine.
What was the sort of thing, I guess, with Mickey and Christian? You did at Wolves, you played them in on Thursday, and took them out in May, but they might not play tonight.
Yeah, no, I thought they needed to play some minutes tonight because then, obviously, becomes sort of 10 days leading into Liverpool, and I think with both of them, we've got them in a real good place physically now, and I just want to keep them ticking over. I think playing more than 45, there was no need today, especially because we needed to get a couple of other players game time. But I just felt with it being a Monday night game, probably if it was Sunday they wouldn't have played, but Monday night, especially for Mickey, because he's just been playing the one game a week, and we need to build him up because he's in a real good place at the moment. So I just felt 45 minutes for both of them would be beneficial.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So there you go. Those were the thoughts of Ange Postecoglou after that defeat to Nottingham Forest, which again, and for those that may have missed my opening intro of the show, we've now had 18 defeats in 33 games. We are on course to break a new record in the Premier League for the amount of defeats that we've had over the course of a Premier League season. Just to kind of summarise there, Ange's thoughts, he said, of course, for him that he thought our football at times was simply outstanding. It's another game that we deserve to win, not lose. A recognition that for the fans, it's unacceptable to have the amount of league defeats that we've had at the course of this season. And I hope you guys don't want me saying this, actually. We dropped the guys back to the green room, obviously, when you hear that interview or you watch that interview being played out. And all of us are kind of, you guys might remember me saying this, we're not even really engaging with the camera anymore when Andy's talking after these defeats. We're looking down, we're checking our messages in the back room, we're not really engaged with what he's saying, because it does feel like we've heard very similar kind of rhetoric and familiar sounding before. And that's why it gets hard really to even come up with new things, because, we are talking about the same things over and over again. So look, those were his comments. I think we all are at a point now where a lot of us are disillusioned by what he's saying. And I know there's a lot of saying Ricky can't wait for his summer holiday. I just need to be clear, guys. I am going to Cyprus with 2 kids under 5. It will be a break. How much of a break it will be, I don't quite know. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I have to make you laugh very quickly on that point. I've had to reschedule my flight home because I was due to fly back from Larnaca at the same time Tottenham kicking off the second leg to Bilbao. So everyone who knows my life knows it's never really that of a formality. So I've had to reschedule that, so we'll be back for it. But look, we're going to fly through the game because, in all truth and honesty, I think to a lot of viewers and listeners, they've been through so much of this season where who really wants to have to dissect yet another defeat, 18 in 33? And just before I do that, we've come back from that last break of the show. I'm joined by, going to say, finest actors in the land, Hartman and TJ Ramini, and me and Miles, of course. Me and Miles on the screen as well. We're still rocking and still surviving over here. We have got nearly over 8,000 of you that are watching the show live. Thank you so much, as always, for incredible support for the show. Keep liking, please keep subscribing, guys. Share this out to a wide range Spurs audience. Look, going to fly through the team to our own benefit here. Ange made, as we were expecting, 5-6 changes to the game. Spence, Kulusevski, Richarlison, Mathys Tel, Odobert, they all started the game. Doggy was given a rest, and we lined up with Pedro Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Spence, Sarr, Bentancur, Kulusevski, Odobert, Richarlison, Tel, a bench of Kinski, Gray, Danso, Davis, Basuma, Bergvall, Madison, Johnson, Solanke, and Forest went ahead in what's becoming a familiar theme for Tottenham of conceding early goals. And, again, the nature of Spurs conceding goals is a concern because of how they do come about. This one for Forest to take the lead. Porro headed a corner across the Spurs box, failed to really clear it. It fouled to Elliot Anderson, a deflection on the way, which did lead Forest into going ahead. Again, another set piece Spurs are conceded from. I mean, Miles, it does feel a bit like Groundhog Day. We're talking about the same kind of goals conceded every single week. I think a lot of fans will be kind of asking the question, well, what are we doing on the training ground to try and rectify these problems? If you remember last season, Ange was saying that set pieces aren't a problem. There's bigger things to worry about. I mean, the thing I think with this season is because he had to defend so much vehemently his own future, the conversation around the set pieces has gone away, and yet we're still conceding from set pieces. I mean, are we at a point now, Miles, we're just going to accept this isn't going to be fixed? Because it hasn't really been fixed really through the last 16, 17 months of his tenure, really.
No, he had a slight period where he didn't concede a set piece for like a few months. So we thought he'd fixed it. And then all of a sudden, we're starting conceding it again. And that first goal, I tell you what, Romero's positioning for it is absolutely awful. And Benson Core as well doesn't put his whole force into it. And that's why it takes the deflection off him. And then Vicario, I'm sorry, doesn't cover himself in glory. Look, it's just a bad all round.
And Andy's saying in that press, as we just heard there, he's not concerned about Vicario from a mental perspective in relation.
No, he should be, because Vicario. To be honest with Vicario, he's been making mistakes for the last 2 years, and he's come back from it. So I'm not worried, in the sense of he was terrible against Wolves, but picked himself up for Frankfurt. He's terrible tonight. He'll probably go and put in a man of the match performance against Liverpool next week. It's just Vicario, because when you look, let's take look at it like this: when you've got Raya and Vicario, and one costs 17 and the other costs 30 or whatever Arsenal paid for him, there's a difference in quality you're going to get. And I know we're all screaming and shouting, "Oh look, we bought a 17 million pound goalkeeper," but look, he's going to be inconsistent, and that's exactly what he is. He hasn't really improved since he got here. He's quite he's not young either. So, in the sense of, and then we've just brought up a backup goalkeeper in Kingsky as well, who's looking to actually push Vicario. So you can clearly see they don't trust Vicario fully anyway. So there's, you know what? I'm not worried. We'll just have to get to the next one. But what he does for the second goal is like, oh my God, it's criminal. But I know you got to talk about the VAR and the offside goal first.
We're going to quickly brush through these. I mean, the other thing I would say is, again, you know what? I've gone past the point. I keep saying on this show, the only thing that I'm worried about, there's so many things that I'm worried about. I can't keep saying the only thing. How many more times can I keep on saying the only thing I'm worried about? There's so many things that I'm worried about, from the freaking top of the football club to the manager, to the players, to the coaching staff, to the tactics, to the set pieces, to the mascots, to the linesmen, to the VAR. There's so much that I'm worried about. How can I keep on saying the only thing that I'm worried about? I'm worried about fucking everything, guys. But again, what I will be really worried about is we are conceding so many goals so early, aren't we? I mean, I joke with you, Tej, every time you say you're going to put the TV on and go get it for a coffee, he comes back with a couple of goals down. I mean, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this. It's mad. Look, we're going to quickly skip over that VAR goal. Look, Wood has the goal. Wood has the ball in the back of the net. He thought he scored his first goal in 4 or 5 months. It was ruled out after a VAR check. Saw that Wood actually goes past Van der Ven to score, but it was ruled out rightly for offside. Didn't take Forest too long. They did double their advantage. Forest take a quick free kick. Wood scores again. This one will count. It's from a cleverly worked set piece routine where Romero actually concedes the free kick on the halfway line with a needless foul on Anderson. We know where Romero's future is at the moment, as we discussed during the show. Alaga curls in for Woods ahead. He's 19th of the season, marking non-existent on the big striker. Van der Ven didn't get up for the leap, and Vicario was caught in 2 minds and ended up coming to punch the ball and got none of it, and Forest double their lead. Look, I mean, Miles, you're saying there, because he's recovered throughout the season and made shot-stopping saves, that it may not affect him. I mean, just a wider consensus here, Tej, me and you were WhatsApping during the game. Do you think at some point we are going to have to look at getting maybe a new number 1, because you can't have a goalkeeper that can't command his 6-yard. I mean, you've got to have a goalkeeper that commands his box. You have to.
I mean, listen, Marlon's right. He's literally a coin flip goalkeeper. He'll come and have an absolute shocker like today, and then go and play a worldie. The problem is it's too critical a position, especially modern goalkeepers.
Yeah.
I think we've probably all talked about this on the show. Football has changed so much, right? In the last, Pep just kind of changed the game, right? So let's say arguably the last 10, 15 years, Premier League, I think the positions that have changed the most are probably left back, right back, and goalkeeper. Just nothing what they used to be like when we were kids. Especially when I was a kid, my goodness, and it was all in black and white. But so the issue is that listen, everybody's going to make mistakes. Nobody's a perfect human being. And everybody knows the cliche that when a goalkeeper makes a mistake, 9 times out of 10, it's going to result in a goal. However, he keeps making the same mistake. And we've talked before about you cannot have kind of glaring weaknesses in your game and not address them. Again, to Marlon's point, he said he's been making the same mistakes for 2 years. Well, brother, you don't get 2 years. You know, if you're that bad at if you're still so bad at however you want to put it, Rick, you know, commanding your 6-yard box is probably the best way to put it, actually, because anything lofted in and aerially to the box, he's lost at sea. And then, of course, he's got his kicking as well, which is also pretty woeful. So for me, we've got all these goalkeepers at the club. We've got, is it 5, 6 goalkeepers at the club? You've got Whiteman, you've got Austin, you've got Fraser Forster still there, you've got Kinski, you've got Vicari. We've got so many, you know, we could, you know, you could have the groom and, you know, 4 best men all in their goalkeeper outfits and be like, oh, well, yeah, that's right. So I think actually, and then to Darren's point, who do we want to be? Like, what are our aspirations, if any? And so if you want to significantly improve, Vicario's 28 years old. And so you could be making those mistakes when you're Kinski's age, but you can't be making them when you're 28 years old, especially for somebody who gives it such big bollocks chat. You know, you can't be all mouth, no trousers, man. Shut your mouth and put the work in yourself on the training pitch and stop barking at people like Bergvall. So for me, I do believe, because I don't think Kinski's ready to be number 1.
No, we saw that.
Get rid of 3, dare I say 4 goalkeepers and go and get a good one. If you need to spend 30, 40, go and get a good one because it will make a massive difference, man.
This is the problem though, Tej, isn't it? I mean, with the goalkeeping position, you know, I know down at the time, many thought that we did, you know, an absolute transfer masterclass in getting Vicario over Raya. If you remember at the time, I mean, when we were linked with Raya, there's a lot of fans that are quite happy to get Raya. And there's a few issues that he had at Arsenal. We thought we really got the better side of the bargain with Vicario. I mean, in typical Tottenham fashion, it turns out we haven't got the better side of the bargain. But can you have a goalkeeper, Dow, that keeps on making so many elementary errors in what is, you know, said to be the 6-yard box, as Roy Keane said? You come in the 6-yard box, you're going to be killed in footballing terms. You cannot enter a 6-yard box as a goal, you know, as a player and expect you're going to get away from it because it's a goalkeeper's territory.
100%. We can't have a goalkeeper like that. Vicario right now, he's hot and cold, and it is a concern. And like I said earlier, if we've got aspirations to be a team that's going to be successful, you can't be concerned about your goalkeeper, because ultimately what that will do as a defender is anytime there's a cross coming into the box, as a defender, you have no faith that your keeper's coming to wipe you out. So then you're putting yourself in a tricky position to try and win the ball. A ball that may not be winnable, you're trying to win it. It's problematic. It strikes fear and doubt in your back line. And you can see that at times. Corners, set pieces, all of that happens around Tottenham it's people making bad choices. And Vicario is part of that. He's not alone in it, but he's part of it. And the horrible thing about Vicario is, as we know, he's going to have a worldie in a couple of games' time. And when he does that, we're going to have to say how great he was in that moment. But that's become so many Spurs players. Moments. We can't be moments. Consistency is what the league is about. That's why 33 games in, where we are is where we're supposed to be, because there's no consistency and players have to own that. It's not just Andy, it's all of them. Because if you have moments, those moments are not going to get us up the table, but moments get us into semi-finals of a Europa Cup, because that's what moments can do. You can have a moment and get there, but Spurs have got to be more than just moments teams. It's madness. It is madness.
It is madness. Look, I mean, I do wonder also with Vicario, this might sound really harsh, does it need a change in goalkeeper coach? Does it need maybe somebody that's a bit more of a better coach to work with him to get better at an area that he's clearly struggling on? Because he's a really good shot stopper, but, you know, if you can't command your own 6-yard box as a goalkeeper, that is a massive, massive problem. So look, Forest 2-0 up. Tottenham had a couple of chances after that. Odobert, a bouncing shot wide. Mathys Tel, to be fair, at this point was probably Spurs' best player by distance. Headed over from Porro's deep cross. Kulusevski sent a shot at the goalkeeper. Again, chances before half-time, but Spurs going 2-0 at the break. Big boos, as Dow alluded to there, at half-time, which, I mean, it's not the first time I've heard that through the season at home. You know, that's becoming now a regular occurrence with regards to just how much the fans have seen such a poor showing at home. And it wouldn't have surprised everybody. There were so many empty seats at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for this game. I do wonder, for Palace and Brighton, just what quite a turnout you will get. One of those games is being targeted for a protest. The other one, really, bit of a meaningless event. So we'll see how they do pan out. There was silverware on show at half-time with Spurs youth team boss Stuart Lewis showing off recently the Under-17 Premier League Cup, the second time the club have won it in the last 3 years. Could we go further than worse of having somebody, like that in charge at the end of the season? You might laugh, but he's a winner and he's won with the youth players. Does that maybe rub off? I don't know. You'd argue if he's got the seniority to lead this group. Spurs, as Ange mentioned, made a couple of pre-planned changes at half-time. Davis and Danso on for Van der Ven and Romero. I mean, look, we did huff and we puffed. We had Kulusevski's flick onto Porro's corner, actually beginning to wheel away in the celebration, but Toffolo produced an absolutely astonishing clearance off the line that only could go against Spurs really this season in terms of the clearance off the line. And, again, a couple of changes for Tottenham. Johnson, Solanke got the nod. Odobert and Kulusevski came off. Imin Ange went with 4-4-2. Danso firing a shot wide from the outside post. Porro with another superb delivery. Richarlison steering a header on goal, but Selz made a fine save before we had Bergvall introduced for the final 10. And Tottenham did get a goal back, 87th minute of the game. Lovely ball in the box from Porro, another beauty of a delivery. And Richarlison finding the back of the net with a glancing header that was taking the game to a grandstand finish. Mars, Richarlison, whatever you say about his injury record, his actual record to goal-scoring appearances isn't that terrible. Is there an argument now that really he maybe should be starting ahead of Solanke when fully fit or not? TJ's saying no. Do you agree?
No. The only reason why I'm saying no is because he can't stay fit. And that's a big issue. It's a massive issue. If he was to play the amount of games that Solanke does, he probably would score a lot more goals out of the two. However, he's made of glass. And him and Maddison are exactly the same. Their injury record is so poor. There's just no point in doing that. But we need to get him on that pitch as much as possible in these next few games, especially with this Europa League campaign, and try and get the best out of him. Because if we need a goal, it's going to be him. But to be honest with Richarlison, he knows what it's like to play for rubbish teams and get him out of trouble, and that's all he's doing right now. If we were trying to aim for top four, like we were a couple seasons ago, Richarlison wouldn't score. But now that we're rubbish, he's now on our level. So that's why we're seeing probably a better Richarlison at the moment. For me, it's kind of one of them. We need to cut our losses with Richarlison. But until he can stay fit, he's no good here, because we need someone who we can play week in, week out and score goals. And I'm not saying I'm looking for the Harry Kane of this world, but something very similar in the fact I know you're going to be out there every week, but I need something better than Solanke as well. And that's the bit. I need Richarlison and Solanke to be one and take all the positive parts of it. But great finish in the end. And to be fair, Selz made a wonderful save from him just before that as well, just before he scored too. Yeah. But Richarlison's good in the air. We knew this. And we decided today to actually cross the ball and port with Porro. Well done. Oh my God, it's taken us how many months? But well done for that.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, look, as we know, we touched it in the intro. Spurs had 22 shots of Forest 4. They had 4 touches in the Spurs box, Forest, in all game. But, I think we've said it doesn't really matter. If you can't defend properly or score goals in key moments, that is what has let Tottenham down for a lot of this season. I want to close, if I can, guys, and kind of what your feeling is now ahead of the next few weeks in store, where, as we know, we've got this crucial double-headed game to come against Bodo Glimt, the semi-final, where in between that we've got these games sandwiched of Liverpool, obviously away, where at the weekend we can confirm Liverpool winning the title. Obviously, if they beat Spurs, they'll win the league. And then we've got West Ham away, which Marlon said earlier for him, that will be a game in which, for fans, a London derby, that you don't want to lose to West Ham in the best of times. But the season that we've had, maybe for anybody that is still behind the manager, that may be the final. I say the final nail in the coffin, but again, there's been a lot of debate in the last week or so that if Ange Postecoglou goes and wins the Europa League, you can't sack him for next season. There's a lot of debate. I I see a lot of people saying that there's no way he can be in next season. I mean, how do you see these next few weeks playing out to close this point on the show, Tej? I mean, is it a case of taking things game by game? I mean, will we just have to weigh this up come the summer? Because I know a lot of fans might be fearing we're going to be getting into this kind of similar territory around that Erik Ten Hag scenario where Erik Ten Hag wins Manchester United, of course, the FA Cup against Man City, their local rivals. He stays at the club for that following season, has a terrible run to start the season, ends up getting sacked. I mean, how do you see these next few months playing
it's
out?
so difficult, isn't it? I mean, listen, I do think we have enough to win the Europa League.
Yeah.
I'm not looking past Bodo. I'm not looking past them, and I'm not looking past who I think will be Bilbao in the final. I think they'll beat United, and it'll be Bilbao in the final, playing in their home city. I've been saying this for ages. We're a team that can play once a week. And we can play once a week, actually, to a really high level, a level high enough to win games.
Do me a favour, Tej. Let me know when that week is, and I'll come back on.
Well, I'm hoping it'll be a couple of weeks in May, and so I do think we'll have enough. If we win the Europa League, I don't think they do sack him. I don't think they do. I don't think you can deliver a European trophy to Tottenham for the first time since 1984 and then go and sack the manager who brings that trophy back to the club, whether you feel that it was in spite of him or whether you feel that he was the man who managed to rally people and get the job done. So we're in such a precarious position, boys. I'm not going to sit here and wax lyrical like I pretend to know. I just want us to go and win that trophy, and I want to see all you boys in London and hug it out and say we made it and thank goodness. And if we do, brilliant. And if we don't, then that's a feeling that we'll be used to as well. But as far as Ange's future, who knows? I just want to win something, man. That's where I am, Rick. I just want to win something. Thanks for having me on the show, man. Boys, love you to bits, man. Thank you so much. Viewers and listeners, love and respect as always, man. Rick does always ask, and I'm going to back him up. Please like and subscribe to this show. He works so hard, and my goodness, this has been a Herculean challenge for him this season. So please like and subscribe. And I do think that there are Spurs fans all over the world that would benefit from watching and listening to this show. So please like, subscribe, share it, and all the rest of it, boys. Love to you all. I'll see you soon. Cheers.
Thanks, Tej. I can tell you we are trying to work on a AI model protege to fill in for me for next season if Ange Postecoglou does remain as the Spurs head coach, because I can tell you I'm not sure if I'll be alive to see it. Which, you know, for my wife, bless her heart, as I've said so many times on this show, my missus being Greek, I've obviously got kids now of also Greek heritage. You know, I think we all really wanted this to work under Ange Postecoglou, but, you know, I have said it so many times, it's not that I have got any personal ill feeling towards him. He's a football manager, right? And he does want the best for the football club. And when you look at the man, every time I see him, he looks so broken in comparison to when he first took the job. You know, we are seeing exactly the same man as what, you know, we've seen under Mourinho, Conte, even Nuno in that short period towards the end. I mean, Miles, your face there looks like you are not looking forward to a debate over the summer as to what we might have to come if whatever happens comes our way. We all want to win the Europa League, right, Miles? I mean, look, we all want Tottenham to win a trophy, but it's what comes on the back of that will be an interesting conversation.
I don't think Ange
can you be the Spurs manager if you've lost 18 games and we could lose 20 before the? Well, listen, I think we are going to lose 20 before the end of the season.
Well, that's going to be the thing. But then he's qualified for the Champions League, and it's just kind of like, oh, what's going on here? But no, I think personally, I don't think he.
Doesn't that worry you more?
Yeah, I don't think he stays. I think the relationship between us and him, like I said earlier, is completely broken. And I think for him, he just wants to put two fingers up at Spurs fans and go, look, I won it. I don't think Levy keeps him. I think there's too much of a broken relationship in that dressing room, which we'll find out at the end of the season as well. I know there was a lot of hugging and that from Thursday, but I think you can see all our captains this season have literally done stuff just to you go, this is not captain material, and he hasn't got that dressing room in order at the moment when it comes to them. And just Romero's comments today, us finding that out, So and you can sense it. And look, for me, I thought this a few weeks back that if he did win it, he'd stay. But I think you can see it in his face, and the fact he said that comment of "you have to put up with me now for another few weeks," he's gone. He's done. He just wants to get this campaign over and done with, and we won't be seeing him next season. He will not be in the Spurs dugout next season.
I know that Jason will want me to advocate firmly, Dale, that the players need to take a huge amount of responsibility for these defeats. Because once again, for balance, these players in this game have had individual errors that have caused those goals. And Ange Postecoglou is not on the pitch and is not one of the 11 that is conceding them. But there is a feeling that when you've had similar goals being conceded across the season from similar set pieces, similar identical positions, how is this not being worked out in training? And again, it comes back to that bigger point that I think Marlon also touched upon there. When you've got a player, your vice captain, coming out mid-season suggesting he needs to play in Spain when we've got a double header for the chance for Tottenham to reach a final, that tells you as we're having this. We should not even be having this discussion on this show. I should not be having to ask you your feedback on those comments coming through from a player mid-season, let alone at the end of the season, for it to be played out publicly like this. Do you dread conversations come the summer? Or, again, we had a conversation the other day. We want to see Tottenham get to the final. We want to see Tottenham win the Europa League final. We want to put on an amazing show maybe out in Bilbao, who knows? But, we would love to see Tottenham win a trophy, but do you worry about what comes of it, or do you just want to enjoy the moment and not think about that?
Well, you know what? There's so many different ways this could play out, and one that none of us have really spoke about, but this could be quite funny, is that we win the Europa League, and Ange says, "I'm leaving."
Yeah.
He says, "You know what? You don't want me here. My time's over. I've given you what you fans wanted. You wanted your trophy. Here's your trophy. I'm out the door." There's so many different elements about this where we go into the end of this season. It feels like a really bad divorce. It feels like everyone's now trying to work out who gets the kids, who gets the house, who gets what. That's what it feels like right now. Everyone's squabbling over what bits they want. But when they go out, we go out as a family. We're all so happy together, aren't we? We all love each other, knowing that we sleep in separate rooms when we go back home. It feels like that right now. The relationship is a mess. I don't know who's going to press the button. Will Levy press the button at the end of the season, go, "You're gone"? Will Ange press the button himself? Or will it just become so toxic that it just absolutely disintegrates? But I don't feel that there's a positive for the unity of Levy and Ange to come out and make us fans happy. There's too many fans that want him gone. There's too many fans that have been disappointed in the season. There's a board that has very conflicting views of where Spurs should be. And overall, they're not going to want to be where we are in the league. If he won Champions League, he puts the money back in their pockets. That's what also is a big factor for Spurs. The financial side of it, being in Champions League means a lot financially, but then I think they're going to ship him out. So, as I say, and God bless you. Thank you. I love you. You've tried. If you win this cup, I'll hug you and I'll absolutely come to Australia and hang out and have a pint with you at some point. But I don't see next season any of us seeing Ange here because I don't think he wants to be here. And I don't think many people want him here anymore. So I hope that he can have that moment in the sun where we win in the Europa final. And before Levy gets to fire him, he sticks middle fingers up and walks away.
It's going to be interesting, like I say, next few months that does play out on the show. And we'll review every step of the way. And before I do let these one gentlemen go, we've just had some more quotes come through from Romero. These are understood to be the more fuller context quotes. I'm going to read out very, very quickly if I can, as we look to close this show. Romero was asked by the reporter, as I said, Gustin Adele, what is next in regards to his own personal future? What do you plan for your career? He said, "Well, I try above all else to always live day by day. There are almost 2 months left until the end of the season. My focus is always on performing at my best and trying to finish in the best way possible. We're in the Europa League semi-final, which is an important step for the club. After so many years of not making it this far, I can say I'm happy because in the end, I'd like to win it. It depends on many things. But yeah, after this, when the season ends, we'll see. Honestly, I haven't spoken with my agent yet, but I'm open to anything. My mindset is always about growing, also about going to new places to keep developing. But I don't want to talk about it just yet because there are still a few months left before the season ends." He was asked to, again, push back on that point Which league that you haven't played in would you like to play in based on how you see it? Romero said, yes, the league I am missing is Spain. I'd love to honestly play in La Liga. I'd love to play there because it's the one I haven't played in yet. So those are the full quotes from Christian Romero. Look, whatever you think about whether they sound better second time round with a bit more fluff along the lines of them, I don't think it makes great reading to put an interview like that out mid-season when Tottenham are still in competition for a trophy and the form is the form and the situation around the football club is the situation around the football club. So look, I think on that basis, it's a show that really offers more questions than answers. A lot like Tottenham's season. I want to say a massive thank you to the wonderful TJ Ramini. TJ, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. We are trying to make these shows a little bit shorter, but you know, when you're getting quotes like these coming in from players, it makes it hard to do so. So TJ, thank you so much. Dal, thank you so much. Mars, thank you so much. They may not know it yet. I think the next time these three are paired is for the first leg of the semi-final against Bodo Glimt. They might not know it yet. They may now know it. So don't look so terrified, guys. And it will be Crackers hosting them because I'm not going to be here. I will be in Cyprus trying to survive. So Crackers at the wheel. You've got that to look forward to. If you can look forward to anything with Tottenham these days, Crackers will make it fun. He'll look after these guys and steer you through. But look, thank you so much for all your support during the season. I'll say over 10,000 of you watching the show live again. Can't thank you enough for the support. I think the biggest thing we'd all love, as we all touched upon, is we'd love to see Tottenham win a trophy. Give us something on the back of this really, really difficult season. Miles, thank you so much. We love you very much. Tej, you are, for a lot of people out there, their next James Bond. And the Hart man who he is, Darren Hart, I got a rallying speech from Dow a few days ago. And when you're not seeing him in the cinema, he's giving me rallying speeches. That's all I need to know. And he's always got stuff going on, bless him, and making it work. If he's traveling, he always finds the time. We love you very much. Guys, there you go. Look, let's see what these next few days bring as a Spurs fan. Because quite honestly, you don't quite know where you're going next. But I can promise you, we will be with you every step of the way. From us all here, from Miles, from Tej, from Dow. We have been the last one on Spurs. Please keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.